Hello, everyone. Today is Monday, February the 19th. I'm Ryan Hill.
I'm John Galantis.
And you're listening to Clearview Today with Dr. Shah, the daily show that engages mind and heart for the gospel of Jesus Christ. You can visit us online at clearviewtodayshow.com, or if you have any questions for Dr. Shah or suggestions for new topics, send us a text, 252-582-5028, or you can email us at contact@clearviewtodayshow.com.
That's right, and you guys can help us keep the conversation going by supporting the show. You can share it online with your friends and your family. You can leave us a good 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. Absolutely nothing less than 5 stars. For any discernible reason, we are going to leave a couple of links in the description so you can do just that. Today's verse of the day is coming to us from Philippians chapter 2, verse 3. It says, "Let nothing be done through selfish ambition or conceit, but in lowliness of mind, let each esteem others better than himself."
You know, there's a lot of ways that we can argue about our motivations. There's a lot of ways that we can, sort of justify. But ultimately, most of our actions, if we're being honest with ourselves, it's selfish.
Oh yeah,
it's selfish. It's conceited. It's self-centered because we are brought up in a culture that teaches us to be the main character.
Yes, of course, especially people our age.
Yeah.
You know, we and I'm referring specifically to millennials. We definitely have main character syndrome hard. But it's funny because if you grew up Christian, you've been taught the exact opposite. So there's this natural and I think all people have this natural selfish inclination, but it's in conflict with what we know to be true. So instead of submitting, it's just this. At least for me, I feel this natural cycle of, let each esteem others better than himself. Like, okay, I know that I'm supposed to be lowly and put others before myself. And yet this natural desire is always in constant conflict. And so it ends up being this like roller coaster, this cycle of just ups and downs. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think you're hitting the nail on the head because it goes to that point of dying to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just it is a predominantly millennial issue, but it's not just a millennial issue because human beings by nature are selfish.
That's right.
You see that in the Bible. But we have to die to ourselves and we have to live, but it's not us who are living, it's Christ in us.
That's right.
That teaches us to focus on God first and then others.
Mm-hmm. So how's the play?
It's going very well.
I heard
very, very well.
I heard some rambunctious laughter during play rehearsal last night.
Yes.
So we were in. I was in here in the Clearview Today studio. Right next to us is called the Hub. I would say on the opposite end of this wall behind me is our. How would you describe the Hub? I guess it's our.
It's a multi-purpose space.
Yeah.
I mean, we use it for children's and youth ministry, but it's also, it functions for rehearsals. It's just a big room that we can do a lot of stuff in.
It's literally a big blank room. Yeah, and that's where they were having play rehearsal last night, and I was in here doing some editing and prepping for the show, and I just heard some to be play rehearsal, some rambunctious laughter.
It got a little rambunctious. We did have a good time last night. So we're doing for our spring show, we're doing The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. Love The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, one of my favorite books. And my son is Tom.
Yeah. Tom and Huck.
Noah's playing Tom.
Jonathan Taylor Thomas style.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor Thomas style. We got him that movie for Christmas.
Nice.
And you are actually in the play.
Yes.
You and Ellie are in the play as well.
I have not, full disclosure, I have not briefed on my character yet, so I'm brushing up on that. But it's coming.
Yeah. So I'm excited. We were talking last night in rehearsal, and we were doing a lot of exercises. One of my favorite things with shows is not just teaching people how to be their character, but teaching people how to act. So we're going over a lot of not just learning your lines and blocking, although we did that last night. We went over a couple different scenes, but it's about like theater fundamentals.
Right.
How do you act on stage? How do you move on stage? How do you project? How do you what does the process of getting into your character look like? What are stage directions? How do you stand on stage? And so just a lot of those things because a lot of the people that we are working with have maybe been in shows with us before, but a lot of them are brand new and have not done theater before.
Right.
So teaching them these things not just helps them in this show, but it helps them in life.
Yeah.
Theater builds a sense of confidence, and that's why I love Dr. Shah's heart for theater so much, because it's not something that is common in churches, but God is a God who tells stories.
That's right.
Most of the time in the Bible, we are told information through a narrative discourse. So God is a God who tells stories. And Jesus, when he was here on earth, he told parables.
That's right.
So this whole idea of storytelling is an opportunity for us to get to participate in the image of God.
I would say it's the most powerful communication tool that humans have.
Yeah.
Even today, with all the technology at our fingertips, there's nothing that communicates more effectively and more deeply than story.
Yep.
There's a narrative device that you see in a lot of TV shows. Now I'm kind of getting to nerd out, but a lot of like some of the best TV shows you ever see, you see two characters talking to each other, and they're just in many shows they're just sitting around explaining the plot to one another. But when you really get into that really nice writing, you'll have one of the characters break away and start telling a story. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I used to be a beat cop long time ago back in Philadelphia and blah, 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 blah. And they're telling a story that at the end circles around back to the point. Even stories understand that story within story, it communicates a point way deeper than just me sitting here telling you something. And Jesus, like Ryan said, Jesus understood that as well. He could have just told people, hey, I'm God, listen to me, believe in me after my death, you're going to go to heaven, you'll be fine.
Yep.
He didn't do that. He communicated, even though it confused them at the beginning, he knew how deeply story impacts us and how every single one of us has a fictional story or a movie or something that even from childhood we still cling to, and it means a lot to us because those narrative devices are so powerful. So I'm really glad we're doing Tom Sawyer.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I'll say this right now. I've never read Tom Sawyer.
Really?
Nope. I read Huck Finn in high school.
It's really, really good.
I bought it when we started production. Yeah. When we started practicing for this.
Yeah, it's a great story. And I love that Dr. Shah, before each one of our shows, gets up and he talks about the author and he talks about the heart behind the story and how we can apply it to our relationship with God. It's so important for us. So if you're in the area of North Carolina around April 27th and 28th, grab your tickets for the Adventures of Tom Sawyer at Clearview Church.
That's right. Where can we get those tickets?
Right now they're not available yet, just because we're still in February, so they're not in production yet. But you can send an email to info@clearviewbc.org, or you can write in to the Clearview Today Show and let us know 252-582-5028. We can hold those tickets for you. Cool. We'll reserve them and then let you know when they come in.
Nice. I can't wait.
Stay tuned. We're going to be back after the break, but if you have any questions of anything we talked about, write in 252-582-5028, or you can visit us online at clearviewtodayshow.com.
Hey everyone, my name's Ellie.
And I'm David.
And we want to take a minute and let you know how we can actually serve you as you're listening to Clearview Today.
The Bible paints an extraordinary picture of who we are as a church body. The mission of Clearview Church is to lead all people into a life-changing, ever-growing relationship with Jesus Christ. A huge part of leading people is praying for them. A big reason that Christians have unanswered prayers in their life is because they're not praying.
1 John 5:15 says, "And if we know that he hears us, whatever we ask, we know that we have the petitions that we have asked of him." If you're listening to the Clearview Today Show, we want to know how we can pray for you as well.
There's a number of ways that you can get in touch with us at Clearview and share your prayer request, but the best way is by texting us at 252-582-5028. You can also send us an email at prayer@clearviewbc.org, or you can download the Clearview app on iTunes or Google Play. On that app, there's a dedicated prayer wall that helps us to get to know what's going on in your life, how we can pray for you, and how we can take any necessary steps to get you moving in the right direction.
Thanks for listening. Now let's get back to the show.
Welcome back to Clearview Today with Dr. Abadan Shah, the daily show that engages mind and heart for the gospel of Jesus Christ. You can visit us online at clearviewtodayshow.com, or if you have any questions for Dr. Shah or suggestions for future topics, send us a text at 252-582-5028.
That's right, and we're here again with Dr. Abadan Shah, who is a PhD in New Testament textual criticism, professor at Carolina University, author, full-time pastor, and the host of today's show. Shah, a lot of people don't know this, but we actually have people write in to ask, what does your first name mean?
Abadan?
What kind of name is Abadan? They think it's an Eastern name, or it's some like an Indian name or a Hindi name, or
They asked me the same question in India.
Really?
What kind of a name is that? Abadan, because it's not an Indian name.
It's not.
And those who know Indian languages, it doesn't sound Indian. But to those who are unexposed, if I can say that, to languages in India, they think it sounds Indian.
To the Western ear, it's an Indian name.
Yeah. And one or two, there are words that sound very similar, they sound similar to Indian words, but those who are natives, they know.
Yeah.
Abadan is not an Indian name.
Yeah.
What nationality is Abadan? Or what What is
What
Abaddon?
is the language of origin?
Yeah, there you go.
Hebrew.
Hebrew name. I mean, I knew that, of course, but playing the radio host.
Yeah. It's actually found in Numbers 1:11. So for those of you who want to know what my name means, Abaddon comes from Numbers chapter 1 verse 11. It's found several times in the book of Numbers. Abaddon is one of the heads of the tribes of Benjamin and son of Gideoni. That name is kind of like not the opposite, but it's just like taking the name Daniel, Dan, El, God. I mean, a judge. Dan means judge. Elohim. Judge is my God. Abaddon is my God.
Is the judge.
Is the judge.
Abi.
Abba is father.
Uh-huh.
Elohim, God. So they're like synonyms for God.
Uh-huh.
But Dan is the common.
So Abi, judge. I'm sorry, father.
Father.
Dan. Abi Dan. God is my judge. And Daniel is...
Judge is my God.
That's pretty cool.
That's cool.
So, yeah.
Wow. So if you've met someone named Daniel, you'd be like the inverses of one.
Yeah.
another.
Yeah, inverse is a good word.
Yeah.
It's not opposite because it's actually the same. And my dad was preaching to the Old Testament, came across that name, and he decided to name me Daniel. Abaddon. Now I'm confused about my name.
No, we're doing all this switching.
And it's not the Abaddon that's found in the book of Revelation.
Right.
Oh, yeah, no.
I had this guy come to me when I was in college. He was kind of an interesting guy. He worked in the finance office.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, he was big fella. He was nice, very nice guy. Just kind of odd. Just kind of like, hello, how are you? So how much are we withdrawing today? Not much there, but what he would like,
Oh my goodness.
So,
Bro.
You said worked in the finance department. I was like,
Sounds
oh,
about
boy.
right.
Here we go.
college finance department.
Here we go.
So, because I used to work on campus, and I would go see him every month to get my $60 out.
do his voice one more time.
Hello, how are you? Well, let's see.
okay.
Well, you
Sorry,
have,
folks.
I think you can get maybe $55 this time. So he said, well, I don't know if you were aware of that, but we were doing a Bible study last night, and your name came up. So I said, oh, okay. He said, in the book of Revelation. I said, oh. He said, well, we prayed for you. I said, I think you had the wrong name.
Yeah, that's the wrong name.
That's Abaddon, and it's funny because I'm reading a book called The Expanse. Oh, it's a series called The Expanse. It's science fiction.
Right.
It has nothing to do with religion at all. But the titles of the books draw from like religious imagery,
Yeah.
Right.
to kind of demonstrate what's going on. So it's not about demons or anything like that. But there was a book called Abaddon's Gate, and it was about they go through this portal in space and all this stuff. I remember sending it to you and being like, check it out. I mean, I know it's not how you spell it. And you were like, no, that's not me.
Yeah, that Abaddon is the angel of the abyss.
Yeah, you don't want that.
No, I don't want that.
That's not, you're
So I
not
explained-
affiliated with me.
So I explained to him, and I was like, oh, that's different because mine is Abaddon, and it's found in Old Testament in Numbers 1:11. He just kind of looked at me. Okay, well, take care. It's like, I guess it didn't make a difference to you.
Nah, not at all.
You apparently already have your mind made up that my name means the devil.
Yeah. The one thing I like about that is because your name is Abaddon, which is rich in biblical meaning. And then your sister Libna, just a very beautiful. Is that an Indian name, Libna?
No, that's
not
also a
even-
biblical name.
That's biblical too?
Yeah, because that's one of the cities that Joshua conquered in the Promised Land.
Oh, yes, that's right. You told me about that.
Yeah, that's one of the cities of Canaan.
Because it's a beautiful
Yeah.
name, and it's got that biblical historic meaning too. And then I remember asking you when I first met you, like, do you have any other sons? You're like, I got one more brother. I'm like, oh, there must be a big like story. He's like, he's Fred.
Fred.
Yep.
He's named after the missionary who sort of adopted my father.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, he was not the one who led my father to the Lord. No. He was the one who adopted my dad. And they had this father-son relationship. So when my dad's first son was born, my brother was born, he named him Fred.
But he didn't get any of those awkward questions like, what does your name mean? You're from the book of Revelation. He just got the easy pass to Fred. Yeah.
Fred, and named after Fred Schillander.
Yeah.
By the way, Fred Schillander was the man who helped in a sense, translate, but really it was updating the Bible that was translated from original Hebrew Greek into the Marathi language. Marathi is the language in Bombay, the capital of Maharashtra. Bombay has close to 90 million people. Now they say it's 19. That's not true.
A lot.
90 million.
Wow.
How are they getting like so? I mean, I know this is kind of off topic, but how is the census so off?
Because people are living on the streets. They're living in hutments.
Like in slums and stuff?
Slums and streets and all that. You're not counting all of them.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, how can you?
Yeah.
I mean, you count them in a sense of like, okay, I think it may be another 100,000. But you're not like counting them.
Wow.
Right.
So one time we were at the Y in Bombay, staying there, just with other people. There were other people that travel who have a Y membership and they can come stay there too. And they were my dad was talking to our group and he was explaining to the people right here from Henderson, from Clearview and other places who had gone with me to India. This is in 2008. And he was explaining to them is that the population of the city is about 90 million. And there were like a couple of these people sitting there, I think from Europe somewhere, and they're looking at our group and saying, that's not true what he's saying.
Really?
That's not true. And I was like, you're talking about my dad, for one. You don't know that he's my dad. So I kind of looked at him and said, you may not realize this, but that man knows more about this place than you think he does. Secondly, have you counted? Have you seen all the people who are on the streets? Do you think the census goes around looking for all of them? No. Here's what you do. Look at the population of Maharashtra, the state of Maharashtra. How much is it? Now look at the big cities in Maharashtra. Look at all their population, add them up. Guess what? There's a huge chunk missing. Where do you think those people are? Where does that fit in? That fits in Bombay.
Right.
We just don't know where those people are because it's all based on people having children in the hospital, whatever. Where do those people go?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
That missing population is in the streets of Bombay.
True.
Europeans always want to correct somebody.
Yeah, they want to correct somebody. But anyways, I don't know how we got to that. But that translation, I got it now. That translation in Bombay, in Maharashtra, was made by a woman, an Indian woman, who was kicked out of her home because her husband died and all that stuff, terrible tragedy. Her name was Ramabai. And she became Pandita Ramabai, means this scholar Ramabai. She came to America back in the late 1800s. Brilliant woman. Started an orphanage. That's where my sister worked later on. My dad was a trustee there. But she translated the Bible. But then the Bible became kind of outdated because of the language changes. Fred Schalander is the one who freshly translated or updated. Most places he updated the Bible.
Wow.
And he became my dad's father.
And also, he's got a pretty cool sounding name too, Shalander. I could really get behind that.
That is a cool name.
Yeah. So anyways, long story for a short question.
Well, biblical names have a lot of meaning. You know, that was one thing that was really important to me when we were naming our kids is that I wanted to have biblical names. Now, one of my kids is Gavin and one of them's Holden. So hopefully the third one will get a biblical name in there. But, my son's middle name is John, which is after my name. And I love those biblical names because they have really, really deep, significant meanings.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think it just adds that next layer of identity to your name.
Yeah.
Having significance in names is a biblical thing. So many names in the Bible have significance. But the one I want to discuss for a few minutes is the name of Christ or just Christ.
Yeah.
It says here, this is in John chapter 20 and verse 31, it says, "But these are written that you may believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and that believing you may have life in His
name.
name." So name is significant. So we know what Jesus means. Jesus means Yahweh or God saves. But what does Christ mean?
Yeah.
See, we always, first and foremost, is it his last
I was
name?
just about to say, you mean it's not his last name?
No, it's not his last.
Mr. Christ?
Yeah.
Mr. Christ.
Mr. Christ. First name Jesus, last name Christ.
The neighbors move in next door, the Christ. It's funny because I even have had a misunderstanding of Christ. I always thought Christ was just this promised one, not necessarily the king or royalty. It's just one who was promised. But there's so much more that goes behind Christ.
Yeah. It's the Greek translation. Christos is the Greek translation of the Hebrew word Messiah. Now, what does the word Messiah mean? Messiah, it means the anointed one, someone who has been consecrated or set aside for a special task.
Right.
That's what Messiah really means.
Yeah.
Mashiach is someone who has been set aside for a very important task.
Yeah. And when we talk about the gospel, it's really important that we do know these names, understand what these names mean. Because like I said, we throw around Jesus Christ very liberally. You know what I mean? Like it's maybe not liberally, but we throw it around without understanding the true depth of what we're saying.
Yeah.
When the Septuagint translators, for those of you who may not know or don't remember, the Hebrew Bible was translated into Greek because Jewish people were losing their language. They were not able to read Hebrew for a time period. So they decided to translate it into Greek so that their children would read the Bible. Isn't that amazing?
Mm-hmm.
And so this is what we know as Septuagint, LXX, Septuagint. And when they came to this word, Messiah or Mashiach, they used the word Christos or Creo, which has the idea of anoint or smear with oil. That's where we, what is that oil we have now? The Crisco.
Crisco.
Yeah.
Is that really?
Yeah, it's all connected. Yeah.
I didn't.
You didn't know that?
No.
Crisco.
I didn't know that.
Crisco and Christ,
It's
they're
oil.
derivatives.
That's
Yeah,
insane.
like using oil. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm floored.
That's some woman is in her cabinet looking like right now. There it is.
I know
Crisco
some
right there.
Greek.
I legitimately learned something on the Clearview Today show today.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
That's where the
pretty
word
cool.
comes from.
Wow.
Now, maybe they don't realize that, or maybe they just thought Crisco sounds good. But that's where the whole idea of Creo,
Wow.
anoint with oil or smear with oil, comes from.
So by the time Jesus came on the scene, that was already a very important word.
Oh, yeah.
That was an important
Oh,
title.
the Septuagint was already there.
Yeah.
So they knew Messiah from Hebrew, but they also knew Christos from Greek.
I don't think we think about that. That
Yeah.
the Greek translation was already there by the time Jesus was born.
Yes.
Yeah.
That translation was made over a 400-year period, according to the best estimates. 200 before Christ, 200 after Christ. So that 400-year period is where you have the Septuagint translation. Now, according to tradition, it is the 70 scholars who came together and translated these writings into Greek, which are more than just the 39 books of the Old Testament, according to the English 39 distribution. But because they also have other, what we know as the extra canonical books in the Septuagint. But also, that's tradition, that these 70 people translated this. But we don't have concrete information that that's all there is to it. I think it was a lot of people were translating the Hebrew into the Greek.
See, we make it out to be like by the time Jesus came on the scene, he was talking about being the Messiah and being the Christ, and the Jewish people just had question marks. Like
Yeah.
they were just,
What does that mean?
like they were
What?
like dim-witted. Like what? What are you talking about?
I've never heard that.
They knew, like when he said, "I'm the Messiah, I'm the Christ," they knew exactly what he was saying.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
They're way, and I think that's a theme that we've kind of talked about here on the Clearview Today show, is that the Jewish people, even the ones following Jesus, were way sharper than we give them credit for.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, think about it. The first converts were not Greeks or Arabs or Africans or Indians or Chinese. The first converts were
Or Jewish people.
Jewish people.
Yeah.
Either the ones who lived in Jerusalem, the Hebrew Jews, or they were the Hellenists. Means they were the diasporic Jewish people. On the day of Pentecost, when we hear all these are here from Parthia and Mede and Babylon and all, that does not mean they were Babylonians and
They were all foreigners gathered together.
No. These were Jewish people who lived in foreign lands who were now Parthians and Medes and Hebrews who were there for the Feast of Pentecost.
Yeah.
They were there because this is what you do. You go on a pilgrimage to your home country, to your fatherland.
Yeah.
And you celebrated there.
Why would they have done that if they were Babylonians? That doesn't
Yeah,
make sense.
well, why would they have come to this Jewish feast
Yeah.
and be
Right.
there listening to these Jewish speakers?
Yeah. Now, there were some who did come who were not bona fide Jewish people from the stock of Israel, like the Ethiopian eunuch.
Mm-hmm.
But majority of them, I mean, the vast majority of them were actually Jewish people.
Yeah.
So, talking about did they understand Christos or did they understand Messiah? Just look at some of these references. Let me give you just a few of them. 1 Samuel 2:35. It says, "Then I will raise up for myself a faithful priest who shall do according to what is in my heart and in my mind. I will build him a sure house, and he shall walk before my
Anointed.
my Messiah or my Christos."
As many times as you and I have gone through the book of 1 Samuel, I think I've missed that.
Yeah.
That he because the focus is on who Samuel's going to be
Yeah.
in contrast to Eli, but he's also pointing towards Jesus, and
Right.
it's crazy we've read that so much and I missed it somehow.
Psalm 2 and verse 2, "The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his
Anointed.
anointed."
Yep.
Same word. Psalm 132 verse 10, "For your servant David's sake, do not turn away the face of your
You're anointed.
anointed." I mean, I can go on and on. Let me take Daniel chapter 9 verse 25. "Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the command to restore and build Jerusalem until
Messiah.
Messiah, the anointed one, the prince, there shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks, and after the 62 weeks,
The Messiah.
Messiah.
the anointed one shall be cut off, but not for himself." I mean, how much more prophecy do you need?
Yeah,
Right.
All those verses on the scriptures, it led to the Jewish people developing an understanding of who the Messiah was,
Yeah.
so that by the time Jesus came on the scene, they were well versed in what was to come.
They knew very well, which is why you get the reaction you do from some of the Jewish leaders who oppose Jesus. When
Yeah.
he claims to be the Messiah, they're like, whoa, 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 no,
Yeah.
But it also confuses me because it's like they know that it's coming. Why not Jesus?
Because he didn't come through them. He did not come for their endorsement. And it says it, that Jesus did not give himself to anyone because he knew what was in man
Yeah.
and did not want human beings to testify of him.
Do you feel like, and I think we've talked about this on the show, but just for my clarity, was it that they were like, okay, since he didn't come through us, it can't be him, or it probably is him, but we're not going to tolerate that?
Right. I believe it was more the second one.
That's a scary thought.
Yeah.
That he fits the bill. He is all through and through what he says he is. We just don't like it that he is doing this. See, okay, all you have to do is look at some of Jesus' parables about himself.
Mm-hmm.
He talks about the parable of the vineyard, how the father, the rich man, went away.
Mm-hmm.
When he went away, he sent these people to go check on his vineyard. They are the prophets,
Mm-hmm.
and the vineyard. These people came, and what did the workers do? They killed some of them.
Mm-hmm.
They killed these, I guess, the representatives or these people sent by the vineyard owner.
Mm-hmm.
Some they killed, some they stoned, some they mistreated and sent them back. They represented the prophets. And then the vineyard owner said, you know what? I'm going to send my son. I know they're going to respect him. And when the son came, these workers said, hey, here's the son. Guess what? Let's kill him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, if that does not satisfy your question, I don't know anything else will.
Yeah.
Because what that means is the people who are working in the fields, which means the chief priests, the Pharisees, the scribes, they knew Jesus.
Yeah.
They just said, this is the vineyard owner's son. Let's kill him.
It's insane because I know, it's rough for me because you and I have been looking at the Old Testament a lot, especially in the establishment of Israel as a nation with Samuel going forward to the time of Jesus. And one of the big themes, especially like even in the book of Judges, which I know is before that, but you just see Israel's corruption. And
Yeah.
You see restoration, you see corruption, you see restoration, and it just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. But to be so corrupt as to understand that you're putting God himself to death it's almost unimaginable to me.
Yeah.
It's very difficult for me to wrap my mind around the fact that they knew full well that he was God. They had accepted it and killed him anyway.
Well, I want to read for us a passage. Is that okay?
Yes.
Yeah,
This is
absolutely.
Matthew 21, because I know some of our listeners or viewers may be wondering, where are we getting this from? So let me read for you. Matthew 21, and I believe it's verse 35. It says, "And the vine dressers took his servants, beat one, killed one, and stoned another. And again he sent other servants, more than the first, and they did likewise to them. Then last of all he sent his son to them, saying, They will respect my son. But when the vine dressers saw the son, they said among themselves, This is the heir. Come, let us kill him, and seize his inheritance. So they took him, cast him out of the vineyard, and killed him. Therefore, when the owner of the vineyard comes, what will he do to those vine dressers? They said to him, He will destroy those wicked men miserably, and lease his vineyard to other vine dressers who will render to him the fruits in their seasons. Jesus said to them, Have you never read the scriptures? The stone which the builders rejected has become the chief cornerstone. This was the Lord's doing, and it is marvelous in our eyes. Therefore I say to you, the kingdom of God is taken from you and given to a nation bearing the fruits of it. And whoever falls on this stone will be broken, but on whomever it falls, it will grind him to powder." Now pay attention to this, verse 45, Matthew 21:45. "Now when the chief priests and Pharisees heard his parables, they perceived he was speaking of them. But when they sought to lay hands on him, they feared the multitudes because they took him for a prophet."
So it wasn't even that they were afraid of what God would do to them for killing their son. They feared the people
The
around.
crowd.
Yeah.
Bro,
crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy. That's what I'm saying. Like, I completely believe it. I understand it, but it's tough to put myself, because I'm the type where, like, I'm reading a story, I want to put myself in it.
Yeah.
I want to put myself in the mindset of all the characters, even the bad guys.
Yeah.
I can't. It's difficult to do. It's really difficult to understand that they knew who he was. They knew that they got it. They're like, I hear you.
Yeah.
I believe you. I'm still gonna kill you anyway.
Yeah.
He asked the disciples, who do men say that I am? Then they gave all those answers, John the Baptist or baptizer, Elijah, Jeremiah, one of the prophets. And then he asked them, who do you say that I am? And Peter said, you are the Christ. You're the anointed.
Yeah.
You're the Messiah, the Son of the living God. And Jesus gave him a great compliment. I mean, it's throughout.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have enough time to get into all the proofs that
Right.
he was the anointed one. He was the Messiah.
Yeah.
So
I love it.
He's the one. If you guys enjoyed today's episode, if it was helpful for you, write in and let us know, 252-582-5028. Or you can visit us online at clearviewtodayshow.com. Don't forget, you can partner with us financially on that same website. Be a part of what God is doing through the Clearview Today Show to reach the nations with the gospel of Jesus. Also want to remind you to visit mightymuscadine.com. They're the sponsors for today's episode. Use the promo code TODAY when you check out. That's TODAY. It's going to get you a discount, and a portion of those proceeds come right back here to the Clearview Today Show. John, what's coming up tomorrow?
Tomorrow is a very, 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 I'm gonna add one more, very significant day.
Lots of varies.
Very significant day, especially in the field of New Testament textual criticism. Well, probably not New Testament. I think the Dead Sea Scrolls are Old Testament, right, Dr. Shah?
Yes.
Are they Old Testament? Okay. It's still a significant day in biblical history and textual criticism. We're talking about the anniversary of the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Dr. Shah, we actually went to Qumran,
Yes,
you and I and David.
absolutely.
My wife, was that 2019, 2020?
I've been there before. I went there in 2015.
Uh-huh.
But then I think I took you guys with me, I want to say in 2020.
2020. So then my wife was there as well.
Yes.
Really, really fascinating stuff, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more.
I'm sorry, 2019.
2019? I think you might be right. It was one of those. But definitely we want to talk about our experience there, talk about the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls, what that means for textual criticism and modern Christianity today.
Very nice. Make sure you guys tune in. Love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow on Clearview Today.